Hi, my name is Wanyue, and today I will be presenting the paper, A Girl Has a Name and Its Adversarial Authorship Attribution for Deobfuscation, which I worked on with Jonathan Ruser, Professor Zubair Shafiq, and Professor Padmini Srinivasan. First of all, we would like to talk about what is authorship attribution. Authorship attribution is the task of identifying the correct author of a document given a range of possible authors. It has been a long-standing topic, and researchers have developed a wide range of solutions to the problem. But recently, there have been several attempts to attribute the authorship of anonymously published texts using such systems, which poses a serious threat to privacy-conscious individuals, especially human rights activists and journalists who seek anonymity for safety. Text obfuscation, on the other hand, serves as a countermeasure to evade privacy-invasive authorship attribution systems. There were a lot of text obfuscation systems that manipulate text manually or automatically to evade state-of-the-art authorship attribution approaches. In the arms race between authorship attribution and authorship obfuscation, it is important that both attribution and obfuscation consider the adversarial threat model. There is little work on developing authorship attribution approaches that can work against state-of-the-art authorship obfuscators. To fill the gap, we investigate the problem of authorship deobfuscation, where the goal is to develop adversarial authorship attribution approaches that are able to attribute obfuscated documents. We start by describing the threat model for the authorship deobfuscation attack. There is an attacker who desires to identify or attribute the author of a given document, and the defender, who is an author who desires privacy and therefore uses an obfuscator to protect their identity. There are two attack scenarios. First, the attacker assumes to know that the document is obfuscated and also the obfuscator used by the defender. In this scenario, the attacker is able to access the documents that are produced by the obfuscator and hence train an attributor for obfuscated documents from the obfuscator. Second, the attacker assumes to know that the document is obfuscated and there is a pool of available obfuscators, and one of them is used by the defender. In this scenario, the attacker does not know which exact obfuscator is used and can only train the attributor for obfuscated documents from all possible obfuscators. We use two state-of-the-art text obfuscators. The first one is document simplification, or as we refer to DSPAN. This approach obfuscates documents through rule-based sentence simplification and was one of the best performing in the annual PAN competition. The second one is MutantX. This approach performs obfuscation using a genetic algorithm-based search framework. It is also a fully automated authorship obfuscation approach and outperformed text obfuscation approaches from PAN. There are two versions of MutantX: MutantX right print random forest and MutantX embedding CNN. We use right print random forest version because it achieves better drop in attribution accuracy and semantic preservation. For deobfuscation, we use right print random forest as classifier for authorship attribution. More specifically, we use the right print static feature set that includes lexical features on different levels. So the basic idea of adversarial training is to include perturbed or obfuscated inputs into the training set to improve the model's resistance towards such adversarially obfuscated inputs. In our case, obfuscated texts are texts that vary slightly from the original text, and these serve as adversarial examples. Following previous research, we examined a publicly available dataset for evaluation of our methodology. The blog authorship corpus contains over 600,000 blog posts from bloggers.com. These posts span more than 19,000 unique authors. We select a subset of 15 authors, each with 100 documents for a more precise evaluation. Specifically, 80 documents from each author are used in the training set, while the rest 20 documents are used in testing. We train on various combinations of documents. The figure here illustrates the flow of our experimental evaluation under different attack scenarios. For the baseline model, we assume that there is no obfuscation in this world. The attacker is trained on original documents and is deployed on original documents. The first case we examine is obfuscation unaware attacker, and when the defender actively seeks to hide author identity. So the defender gains an advantage by obfuscating documents using either MutantX or DSPAN in order to bypass the attacker. The attacker, however, remains unaware of obfuscation and trains the attributor only on original documents. Next, we give knowledge of obfuscation to the attacker by introducing an obfuscation detector. So in this scenario, we ask whether there is any benefit to the attacker if the text is identified as obfuscated before attribution. The defender is the same as the previous scenario. It uses one of the obfuscators to generate documents. We then give additional information to the attacker. Here we propose the concept of obfuscator detector, which can detect the specific obfuscator used. In this case, the attacker attributor is trained always on the documents generated by the same obfuscator as the defender, either documents generated from DSPen or from Mutantx. We also examine the two cases where the obfuscation and obfuscator detector produces incorrect results. Since previous processes require the proposed obfuscation and obfuscator detector, they're not efficient. Hence, a simpler, more efficient solution is to train on all of the documents at once. The simplified version, the attacker attributor is trained on the combination of original documents, documents generated from DSPen, and documents generated from Mutantx. Since this is the combined condition, the defender may or may not use an obfuscator and will choose from the two possible obfuscators to generate documents. In this section, we present the results following the progression of various attack scenarios shown in the previous section. For the baseline performance, the original authorship attributor has an accuracy of 76% when trained on original document and test on original documents. The attribution accuracy for randomly assigning the 15th author is 6.7%. For the obfuscation unaware attacker, the result shows that the attribution accuracy drops when tested on DSPen obfuscated documents and drops when tested on Mutantx obfuscated documents. Based on the results, we know that DSPen and Mutantx obfuscators can successfully decrease the attribution accuracy of original attributor. The results from obfuscation-aware attacker with obfuscation detector shows that while the performance is still not comparable to the baseline results, the increasing accuracy from the previous scenario is significant, which suggests that the obfuscation detector would benefit the performance against obfuscated documents. For the results of obfuscator-aware attacker with obfuscator detector, we can see that having an obfuscator detector as well as an obfuscation detector is the most beneficial to improve the attribution accuracy from obfuscated text. Although obfuscation or obfuscator detector are quite accurate, they're not perfect. So we test the success of attacker when the obfuscation detector and obfuscator detector are incorrect. The result shows that when the obfuscation detector produces wrong results, performance will be influenced, but still stay at a relatively high level. So having an obfuscation detector is generally good for the attacker with little cost. When the obfuscator detector gives incorrect results, the attribution accuracy will not achieve its best performance, but the result is still higher than trained only on original documents. So using obfuscated documents to train always tend to benefit the attribution accuracy. For obfuscator-aware attacker that does not rely on an obfuscator detector or obfuscation detector, while the attacker does not know if the document is obfuscated or not, or by which obfuscator, it is still able to achieve a high boost in attribution accuracy by adversarial training. Therefore, although the previous processes can achieve higher performances, training on a combination of these documents could be a valid approach when time and resources are limited. Next, we look more closely into the results from adversarial training to better understand them. The figures above presents the confusion matrices produced from DSPen obfuscated documents tested on attack scenario 1, which is obfuscation unaware attacker, scenario 2, which is obfuscation aware attacker with obfuscation detector, and scenario 3, which is obfuscator aware attacker with obfuscator detector. Moving from scenario 1 to 3, we see an increase in color density and percentage on the diagonal, which signifies the general increase in accuracy when the training documents becomes more specific. At the author level, we observe that almost all of the authors show increases in accuracy on the diagonal cells across the three scenarios. So it shows that adversarial training is effective even on authors with different styles. In attack scenario 2, 3, and 4, the test sets using DSPen for obfuscation yield worse attribution accuracy than those using Mutantx. Our analysis of obfuscated documents show that DSPAN may expose a greater number of changes, as well as more significant changes as compared to mutant X. So we surmise that DSPAN results in larger degradation in attribution accuracy because the attacker's training set contains text that is less similar to the original text. But the changes made by DSPAN also have side effect in that they lower the soundness of obfuscated text as reflected by the lower meteor scores. In conclusion, in this work, we explore the novel problem of adversarial authorship attribution for deobfuscation and demonstrate that adversarial training is able to significantly reduce the adverse impact of existing text obfuscators on authorship attribution accuracy. We found that while an adversarially trained authorship attributor achieves best accuracy when it's trained using documents obfuscated by the respective obfuscator, it achieves reasonable accuracy even when it's trained using documents obfuscated by a pool of obfuscators. When the adversarially trained attributor makes incorrect assumptions about the obfuscator, we note a degradation that is still similar or better than the attribution accuracy of non-adversarially trained attributors. Our results also shed light into the future arms race between obfuscators and attributors. Most notably, we find that the effectiveness of adversarial training is somewhat limited if the obfuscator continues to employ new and improved methods that are not available to attributors for adversarial training. So it is important to continue the development of text obfuscation approaches that are resistant to deobfuscation. We also acknowledge that our experiments were limited to closed world setting where the universe of potential authors is assumed to be known by the attributor. Further research is needed to investigate whether and by how much adversarial algorithms are effective in the open world setting. Thank you.